This is how my game went from looking like this to this. After releasing the last video, I began to work on the first-person animations. I needed a solid workflow that would allow me to import the models and animations from Blender and bring them into Unity. Then in Unity I needed to come up with a system that would handle different weapons, different types of reload, aiming down sight, weapon sway, and all of that stuff. Each of these things came with their own questions, and then those questions had questions, and the questions just kept piling up. Would I attach the weapon to one of the hand bones? But what about two-handed weapons, where the gun switches hand during reloads? What about dual-wielded weapons? And what about animation events? I want to be able to make rapid changes in Blender without having to reconfigure all the animation events and import settings every time. Caveat after caveat popped up, without any clear solution in sight. After weeks of bashing my head against a wall with little to show for it, I ran out of steam. I thought I'd take a week off, maybe 2, then I'd come back fresh and be able to figure it out.
Many months later.
Yep, 10 months later, I still hadn't opened Unity. I had burnt out, and the game was all but dead. It was looking like this project had met the same fate as all those that had come before it. But this time, I had done one thing differently. I had made a promise to myself that the next time I opened Unity, it would be to work on the game. The same co-op COD Zombies inspired game that I had set out to make a year ago. It was time to get to work. And did I open my old project like I said I would? No. I created a new one, but this project was called FPS Animations Test. In this project, I'd figure out once and for all how I was going to add weapon and character arms and animate them and add weapon sway and particle effects and animation events and make it all work together in harmony. And I could do this in an empty project, unburdened by the overhead of a code base full of unrelated netcode, gameplay logic and assets. One by one, I worked through these problems until I finally got to a point that I was happy with it. I even created a Blender add-on to export an FBX along with each animation's pose markers in a JSON file, which I could then use in Unity in a custom importer to automatically set up my animation events every time a model was imported. Over the course of the last 2.5 months, I've rebuilt the game from the ground up using Unity's Boss Room netcode sample game as a foundation. I added a new weapon, the MP18, widely regarded as the first proper submachine gun. And with that, I added the ability to switch between weapons. I added penetration.
What do you mean by that?
Bullet penetration. Now you can shoot through walls and zombies and walls of zombies, and each weapon can be configured to have a damage drop-off curve based on how far the bullet has travelled through solid objects. I also added the ability to aim down sights, which causes the crosshair to fade out. I still need to lower the FOV and sensitivity slightly when doing so, however. And for the most important update of them all, the zombies. They got a new hat. I also added the first power-up, max ammo, because I got sick of running out of ammo and then needing to restart the game every time just to refill my gun. And finally, I did an art pass on the starting area of the first level. Now it's really starting to look like an actual game. I'm going for a realistic style here, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Disregarding the fact that I have neither the time nor the skill required to make all these assets in the first place, it simply doesn't make sense to try and handcraft everything myself. So I've been using a combination of paid assets on sites like CG Trader and the Unity Asset Store, as well as free assets I've found scouring the depths of Sketchfab, so long as they have an appropriate license. I did make the 1911 model myself, which I'm really proud of, but it took literal months, and I want to avoid time sinks like that if I can in the future. And that's pretty much it, apart from some smaller, less interesting things that I can't be bothered to mention. So what's next? Well, the game has a very long way to go. The first thing I want to do, however, is make this alpha version 001 playable, insofar that I can send it to another human being and have them actually be able to play the thing. So I need to add basic graphic settings and the ability to quit the game, because right now Alt F4 is the only way to close it, which is a bit scuffed. Also, the game doesn't have a name yet, so if you've got any ideas then please leave a comment, because WWI_zombies isn't exactly the catchiest name. Beyond that, I'll be adding more power-ups, character models, zombie models, sounds, the ability to open up sections of the map using points, wall-buy weapons, my game's equivalent of the mystery box, perks, upgradable weapons, and more. If that sounds interesting, then feel free to subscribe so you can follow along with the game's development. Thanks.